You know someone who plays a lot more golf than you and I, though? That's Dave Weinberg. Weinberg Wednesday here on 97.3 ESPN. Dave Weinberg's Extra Points columns over at 973 ESPN. So, Dave, off the top, we'll ask you, music with golf, thumbs up or thumbs down?
Doesn't bother me, surprisingly. People probably think I'm more of a purist because I'm a little older, but honestly, music kind of like calms me down on the golf course sometimes. It gets just adds a little more a different vibe to the game. It can be boring at times when you don't have it. So, I mean, I'm good either way, but, if somebody wants to play music, it doesn't really bother me.
Okay.
Yeah, the way I look at it is there's two versions of golf. You have the I'm getting banged up with my buddies golf, where that's where the music's allowed in the cart. But then there's the I want to focus on my game, work on my short game, maybe work on the putting. Two totally different environments.
True. Yeah, it depends on what you're out there for. That's right. If you're in a tournament or something, then yeah, you probably want to just. I'm that way. I want to just concentrate on my game. But if I'm out there just on a Saturday, just trying to enjoy myself. If I play well, great. If I don't, then if someone in a cart nearby has music going, I'm not going to run over and yell at them or anything.
All right. Well, apparently nobody agrees with me except for one person right now. But people can vote at 973 ESPN. Dave, we got a lot to get into in just a little bit amount of time, so we appreciate you jumping on today. Your most recent Extra Points column is on the Eagles. Everything that's going on with football, the returning, the COVID testing. But the biggest thing I think to come out in the last 24 hours was Marquise Goodwin opts out, and he opted out for a very understandable reason. But I think the big question should be asked, now what does the Eagles wide receiver core looks like without a veteran, basically safety valve? Because we know that you have not one, not two, but three rookie receivers coming into camp here.
Yeah, I mean, Marquise certainly is justified in doing what he did with him and his wife have tragically lost three children during the complications from childbirth, and now they've finally been blessed with a beautiful baby girl. And if Marquise wants to do anything and everything in his power to make sure everyone is safe and healthy, and he should certainly be commended for that. But yeah, to get back to the wide receivers, that really puts a cramp in their depth. I mean, they certainly have some. They have a lot of guys. It's just they don't have a lot of proven guys. And Deshaun Jackson aside, but he's been hurt for the last couple of years. Alshon's starting the training camp on the PUP list, and Jalen Reagor certainly has all the potential to be one of their go-to guys, but he has yet to prove it. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside likewise has potential, but has yet to show it. So it's going to be interesting training camp to see which of those guys is able to step up and earn a key role in the offense.
As soon as the Miami Marlins news started to break, it seemed like there were a ton of NFL guys to then choose that they were going to opt out, and specifically the Patriots. I mean, the Patriots lost a ton of guys due to opting out, and there's an interesting question that's going out there in the sports world right now, and it's, if Tom Brady was in that locker room, do you sense that the same amount of people would opt out?
Boy, that's a tough question. And there's been a lot of talk of them tanking for Trevor. I don't know if that has something to do with it or not. Tom is a very big influence on any team that he's on, especially the Patriots, obviously. It's kind of hard to imagine that this amount of guys, I think, would be opting out. I think maybe they think that they're because Brady's no longer there, maybe the Patriots aren't the juggernaut, that they usually are. So maybe I'm going to err on the side of caution. Be a little more cautious as far as my health is concerned. But Brady's a very fiery leader and a veteran leader, and I have a feeling that if he were in the locker room, there probably would have been some less guys opting out for the season.
When you think about also people opting out, so far it's only one Eagles player. I do find it interesting, Dave, that there's a lot of Eagles players who are being very vocal on social media about how excited they are to get back, how intense they are. I mean, Lane Johnson's posting pictures that looks like he should be, Mr. Universe instead of the right tackle for the Eagles. A lot of these guys are on social media, from him to Deshaun Jackson to others, that they're saying, we're ready to go. So what does it say to you that, it seems like the majority of this Eagles team their mind is in football right now.
Yeah, that's an encouraging sign for Doug Peterson and the coaching staff that the players are buying into this. I'm really curious to see how Carson Wentz is going to deal with this. Obviously he's the leader of the team, but he also has a newborn, and you've seen players and athletes from all sports, exhibiting a lot of caution when it comes to people that are either expecting their first child or have young ones at home. They're really, really afraid of the potential danger involved with this coronavirus. So, I don't know. I would assume Carson's, judging by the way he's acting, that he's placing, football first. But certainly, if anyone wants to put their family ahead of their profession, you can't argue with that. But it's going to be really interesting to see how Carson decides to go with this. And so far so good. But what if a couple of players or two or three, test positive? I'm wondering how he's going to react to that.
So the NBA just put out this morning that there's no positive tests once again. So it's obvious the bubble is working. Do you think that the NFL looks at this bubble and thinks maybe they have to go down that road because of seeing what's happening with the Miami Marlins? I know it's going to be tough and it almost seems impossible. But if that's the only way to do this the right way, do you think it's possible that they start having that conversation of maybe going down that road?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it would be a daunting task to try to pull it off. But like you said, the NBA seems to be doing it the right way. So that I think it's worth at least exploring the possibility. I don't know how they would do it. Do you just bring everybody into one central location? That's going to be, almost impossible to do. The one thing that I was thinking about this today, as a matter of fact, if you do this bubble for the NFL, I would think where do you do it? I mean, the obvious, everybody would be talking about like places like Dallas or Arizona with dome stadiums, yet the virus supposedly is much harder to catch outdoors. So do you pick an outdoor stadium, a city with an outdoor stadium, and then just house everybody in one central location and practicing and that kind of stuff? So there's a lot of moving parts that would have to be figured out. But you're right. I mean, if that's the way if that's the only way that it can get done, it's certainly worth looking into.
Dave Weinberg joining us here on 97.3 at ESPN at Dave Weinberg 19 on Twitter. Make sure you check out his extra point columns at 97.3 ESPN.com. And Dave, following up on that, one of the things that encourages me the most is even if the NFL doesn't have a bubble like the NBA and the NHL and the MLS are doing, the fact that they have these very, very hyper restrictive agreement that they made between them and the players about if you go to a place with this many people, you can get suspended and lose your paycheck and stuff like that. And I look at also what is the NBA doing? The NBA told Lou Williams, hey, you went and got yourself wings. You're getting quarantined. Rashawn Holmes walked across the line of the bubble. He got quarantined. So I think that there's something to be said with the fact that at least the NFL is saying we are drawing a hard line here to make sure this is going to work, because I think that's the only way it's going to work, considering the fact that, let's be realistic, you can't always trust everybody to be responsible.
Yeah, that's true, especially when you're dealing with, in some cases, 22, 23-year-old kids, first time away from home, really, except for college, but, being out on their own, it's really hard to expect them to adhere to such strict guidelines. But you're right. I mean, I think the NFL and everybody else, they've made it clear that if this is going to work, that's the only way it's going to. From what I understand, I think maybe the situation with the Marlins occurred because they kind of crossed the line a little bit.
Yep.
Went out, I think, in Atlanta, from what I understand, and are paying the price now. But yeah, you're right. I mean, you have to, as much as you want to have a good time, you want to, get back to normal, so to speak. You just can't do that right now, and you just have to abide by the rules, and hopefully that'll be the way that they can see their way clear of all this.
Speaking of the Marlins, Dave, how encouraged or maybe still pessimistic are you with baseball that it's the Marlins are the only team that's had this slew of positive tests? Even the Juan Soto situation, where apparently it looks like it was a false positive, but they wanted to be better safe than sorry with him. So is there a party that looks at baseball and says, well, that's a Marlins problem, or are you still looking at baseball and being like, this could go sideways quickly?
Well, as of now, it seems like it's just a Marlins problem, and that's kind of I hate to say it, but it's kind of encouraging. As you know, I'm a huge baseball fan. I mean, I was so happy to see the games, to see the game back on TV and stuff again. And I would hate to think that like one false or one misstep is going to cost the entire league. I'm hoping that the rest of the teams have learned their lesson from seeing what happened to the Marlins, and will learn from it and grow from it, and adhere to the policies and the protocols that have been established. And so I'm quietly encouraged, I guess. I'm willing until another team or two, runs into this kind of problems. I'm willing to just chalk it up to the Marlins making this, one mistake.
So you said you're a big baseball fan. What are your takeaways from the first weekend when it comes to the Phillies? Is it Velasquez failing, the whole entire team failing to hit with runners in scoring position, the bullpen failing? Which one?
They got to fire Joe Girardi. I've seen enough. Yeah, it was just it's kind of weird though. I mean, the Marlins always seem to have their number for whatever reason, and that was just proven again in the first series. You would think that the Phillies would have been. They talked all the time about getting off to a strong start and how important it is, and then they go ahead and lay an egg like that. It's just Velasquez. He's as befuddling a pitcher as you could ever find. He's got the best stuff. He's got major league stuff. He's got the ability to be even almost an ace, but he just he gets in those funks. He makes stupid decisions and pays for them. He just never seem to get consistent. And same thing, you have not advancing runners, not taking advantage of opportunities with runners on base, bullpen falling apart as always. It's just they're really confounding. I mean, I thought they had a legitimate shot of making the playoffs, and maybe I guess they still do. You can't read in too much into one series, but it's not too encouraging at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Dave, before we let you go, one story came out after you and I talked last week, which I wish it would have come out while we were talking to you before we got on last week, which was, and you wrote about it in your extra points columns. People can check it out on 97.3 ESPN.com. Mike Tyson is returning against Roy Jones Jr., kind of, not really.
Yeah, kind of, sort of. Yeah.
The first thing I thought of, though, Dave, is my mind immediately went to the Jones Jr. versus Bernard Hopkins back, I think it was like 2010. And I remember how boring that fight was. And that's the first thing I thought of is that what we're going to see, Dave? Are we just going to see two dudes just kind of hanging out in the ring?
Yeah, I mean, from what I understand, the commissioner of the California Boxing Commission spoke. They're sanctioning the fight, and they spoke with both Mike and Roy, and it's basically a glorified sparring session. I mean, they're talking a lot of trash on social media, putting up videos to try and hype it to get people to buy into the pay-per-view. But they've already made it clear that nobody's going to be going for any knockouts. They're going to be wearing a 12-ounce glove, which is akin to putting a pillow on your hand. It's just not going to, people have this mystique about Mike Tyson that they have to remember he's 54 years old. He hasn't fought in 15 years, and his last couple of fights were terrible as it was 15 years ago. And Roy's been a little more active, but he's clearly not, he's clearly past the prime as when he was one of the, arguably the best fighter in the world. So, if you like those two guys, if you remember how they were and you kind of want to reminisce a little bit, then I guess kind of like an old-timers game is basically what it's going to turn out to be.
Yeah, I'm just not sold, Dave. I'm not sold interest-wise.
Well, me neither.
It's one of those things where it's almost like if you're driving down the highway and you see a car accident on the side of the road and you maybe stop for 5 seconds to go look to your right, see what's going on. That's how I feel about this. This is 5 seconds and I'm moving on.
Yeah, it's going to be like one of those trash sports you saw, like a Kareem Abdul-Jabbar playing one-on-one with somebody at the Taj Mahal, Dr. J, as a matter of fact. 100 years ago. It's just,
I was going to say that was a long time ago, too. What was that, the mid-'90s?
Yeah, that was the ways ago, yep.
Yeah. He's Dave Weinberg, joins us Weinberg Wednesdays here on 97.3 ESPN. Make sure you follow him on Twitter at Dave Weinberg19. I'll check out his extra point columns at 973ESPN.com. Dave, always appreciate the conversation.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Take care.